Namaste. Welcome to the third edition of the Global Festival of Oneness organized by the Advaita Academy. We will start with a prayer. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru-Paramparam. We are very pleased to have with us Swami Samarpananda, who will talk to us about Advaita as the ultimate strength giver. Before we start the talk, I'd like to introduce the speaker. Swamiji is an author and a monk of the Ramakrishna Mission, Belur Mutt. Currently, he teaches ancient and modern scriptures, Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute. Welcome, Swamiji.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. So I am privileged to join you all in the meeting organized by Advaita Academy by Mr. Nitin Sridhar. And I'm thankful to Mr. Sridhar. I've been delivering talks on YouTube on various subjects in English, Bengali, and Hindi. Those of you who are interested can find out that channel, Indian Spiritual Heritage, and see all the videos. So Mr. Sridhar contacted me maybe 1 or 2 years ago, probably 2 years ago, and he had come across some of my YouTube videos, and he wanted those videos to share on this channel. And that's how we kind of bonded up. Now, last year also, he invited me to deliver talk on Shankara Jayanti, but I had some problem. So this year he was insistent. He wanted that at any cost I should be speaking. So finally I agreed, and thanks to Mr. Sridhar that I'm here. But more importantly, I wanted to join because there have been only 3 persons in the history of India who have really united India and Hinduism. People have been talking about this political India and this and that, and who am I to comment on that? But the idea of India, the spiritual idea of India and Hinduism, the 3 persons, the great Vyasa the Great, we celebrate Guru Purnima in his name. And then there was Acharya Shankara. Celebrate Shankara Jayanti in his name. And then there is Swami Vivekananda. There are 3 persons who harmonized every Hindu system prevalent in their time, and brought these systems on one single platform. And most importantly, all these 3 were great teachers of Advaita. So when Mr. Sridhar gave me quite a few topics, I told him that, well, let me go by some unorthodox topic and let me speak on Advaita, the ultimate strength giver. Now for me, whenever I think of strength, I don't know about you people, like when you think of strength, you might think of maybe Alexander, you might think of Napoleon, but whenever I think of strength, I think of Swami Vivekananda. Not only that, he himself was leonine in his majesty, leonine in his character. The important thing is, if you read his works, even if you read one of those small books that are available, published by Advaita Ashram, Kolkata, or Ramakrishna Mutt, Chennai, you'll feel that strength is bubbling inside you. And before I continue, I'll just tell you how I was initiated in this idea of strength, say from Swamiji. Even as a young boy, I had read some of his stories and his biography, those pictorial biographies that are easily available for kids. There I had read some incidents from his life. And then I became a monk of the Ramakrishna mission, and naturally I came to know more about Swami Vivekananda. I'll just narrate 3 incidents. First, when Swami Vivekananda went to the West, he had expected to join this World Parliament of Religions at Chicago. Unfortunately, he didn't have any papers. He thought that, and there was Alasinga Perumal from Chennai, who was such a great admirer and devotee of Swami Vivekananda. They all thought that if Swamiji goes, he will get entry into the parliament by his divine right. And that is not how things work in the outside world. So Swamiji was totally confused what to do and what not to do. And his purse was depleting fast. He didn't have much money. So somebody suggested he go to Boston, and like that he was going up and down. And that's when he met Professor Wright. It's a very famous incident. And Professor Wright was so impressed by Swami Vivekananda's knowledge and personality that he wrote to the organizers that, how can you even ask for credentials from the sun? Like when the sun shines, nobody asks, what is your credential? What right you have? Who has given you the authority? Sun doesn't require that. And then he says, so the knowledge of Swami Vivekananda is more than the combined knowledge of all the professors of American universities. Now, believe me, this was something amazing to me. Can someone have so much of knowledge? Now, if that was not enough, in one of those pictorial books, I read one story where once Swami Vivekananda was somewhere in some city, and there was a canal, some small river, and egg shells were floating, bobbling up and down. And there were kids trying to shoot. America has this penchant for shooting. They love shooting. So they were trying to shoot with an air gun, and no one was successful. So Swami Vivekananda started laughing at them. So the kids challenged him. He took the gun, started shooting, and he shot all the eggshells. So the kids were surprised, said, you must be some cowboy from the West. They couldn't understand that he was prophet from the East. Swami Vivekananda famously said, this is the first time I have handled a gun. Dear listeners, believe me, I could never come out of this incident. How could somebody who had never touched a gun shoot the wobbling eggs in the river? The third incident that I would like to refer. Actually, Swami Vivekananda's life is full of such stories. You can see the strength. The first one is the strength of learning with Wright, Professor Wright. And there is strength of focus. The third one was, he was a guest of Francis Leggett, who was a very rich person, and he was staying there, and he was so rich that he had a golf course with 8-hole golf course. It's pretty large. So Swami Vivekananda didn't know what golf was, and there was Leggett's son. And then bottom line is, there was this young boy who was 10-year-old. He said, he showed that this 10th hole, 8th hole, said, not even great golfers can hit the ball to that 8th hole. Swami said, what if I do? He said, $1. There was a bet of $1. Then came Francis Leggett himself, heard what was happening, and he put $10. Swamiji just waved the stick, kind of measuring his strength, and hit it. the ball flew and went straight in the hole. Mr. Leggett then asked, Swami, does it have something to do with your yoga? And Swamiji laughed and said, we don't apply yoga to such small things. How did you do it? And Swamiji said, I told my mind, there is $10 in the pocket of Mr. Leggett. I want those $10 in my pocket. Mind instructed my muscles, and the muscles did the rest. Dear listeners, I don't know how it happened and how he could do it. Just see the physical strength. The earlier one was the focus, and before that was learning. It's amazing, isn't it? And there are many more. For example, when he said sisters and brothers of America, and the audience got up, 5,000, 7,000, some say 3,000. We don't know. We know this much, that the hall was full. The Art Institute. Where from did he get that power? Where? Swamiji talked about many subjects. We have his famous works in Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Raj Yoga. And he talks about yogic powers. But when you go through his works, whether between the lines, superficially, leafing through, or minutely, you find one thing, that he's continuously talking about Advaita, continuously talking about Advaita, Vedanta. And by Vedanta, see, we'll have word on that. Now, Vedanta has different aspects. Swami Vivekananda was focusing on Advaita. And Mr. Sridhar, his institute is known as Advaita Academy, and he's organizing this. So it's befitting that we focus on this aspect. Now, how Shankara Jayanti, which is being celebrated for one whole month, is related to this. It so happens that Swami Vivekananda, during his itinerant days, when he was moving through India, he had once been on the banks of the Indus, and there he had a vision where an ancient sage was chanting some Vedic mantras, Ayahi Varade Devi. And the style was different from what Swamiji knew or what was being practiced currently. And Swamiji says that from that time on, his whole perspective changed. And he very famously said, Shankaracharya must have had a vision like this. And his whole life, Shankara's whole life, Shankaracharya's whole life was steeped in Veda. Veda, the national cadence of India. What is the Veda? National cadence is the national music, national rhythm of India. Acharya Shankara, his life was all about Veda. Swami Vivekananda, his whole life was about Veda. What is the crux of Veda? Veda is about Paramatma love, knowing God. Now, what is God? How the Veda look at God, how the Veda see it. So I need to tell you just 2-3 sentences about how it is done. Those of you who are familiar with yoga philosophy know that when you go for meditation, when you are into meditation, your mind slowly starts becoming calm. As you calm down, you start getting different kind of visions. And one of the last visions that you get is of God, which normally we call personal God. God whom Ramanuja preached, God whom Madhva preached, God whom Chaitanya preached, and God about whom Sri Ramakrishna talked, God about whom we find abundance in Gita. And there is another state, if you can transcend that, where nothing remains. Neither the world remains, nor God remains, nor you remain. What remains, remains. This is known as Advaita. There is neither duality, nor there is oneness. Very often people confuse. They think Advaita is about oneness. Advaita is not about oneness. Advaita is beyond 1 and 2. Advaita is not zero. If it were zero, it will become Buddhism. If Advaita were oneness, it will become Islam. If Advaita is 2, it will become Vaishnavism. Advaita is unique. Shankaracharya was a unique teacher. Swami Vivekananda was a unique teacher. And at the root of all this, the great Vyasa. Vyasa, who focused entirely on presenting the crux of the Veda through his famous Vedanta Sutras, which has become now the primary source of philosophy in Vedanta. However, as far as Vedanta is concerned, the Upanishads are the ultimate source. So now there were sages on this banks of Indus, now in Pakistan, who were into practicing spirituality. They were experiencing things, and there were people, sages, who were experiencing gods, multitudes of gods. They were experiencing monotheistic God, as in Islam, and they were also experiencing Advaita. And what they were experiencing, not one, not two, but hundreds of these rishis, they are known as Apta, they are known as Drashta, they are known as rishis. Whatever they experienced, they passed on to their disciples. And very often, they preserve that knowledge, that spiritual experience, in poetic form. One of them very famously says, Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasa Parasa Tamas. Darkness. The world is darkness. Mind is darkness. Anything that is beyond mind is light. And what is that light? Aditya Varnam. The term being used is sun-like, like the sun. It's not the sun. It is that state where there is no darkness of any kind. There is no mind. There is no time. There is no world. There is no individuality. What is there? You cannot express in terms. We say Advaita, no duality. If there is no duality, then there is oneness. No, there is no oneness. Because had it been oneness, they would have called Ekeshwarvad, one God, oneness. It's Advaita. What the sage here says, Vedahametam Purusham, it's Purush. It's the inner consciousness of everything. Purush. Purush term has come from that which lives in a city, Puru. Body is like a city. This universe is like a city. The pure consciousness that resides within a person, that resides within the universe, is Purush. I have known that. And then we find it continues. In the Veda, we come across many beautiful mantras. Particularly in Atharva Veda, there are many mantras which talk about this Atma Tattva. But the Upanishads are the real masters. In Upanishads, you come across hundreds and hundreds of different expressions on Advaita. For example, I'll tell you a few of them. In Ishavasya Upanishad, we have Anejad Ekam Manaso Javiyo. Unaged, that which doesn't move. Ekam, oneness. Why they say oneness? Because see, there is the possibility of your getting confused with zero. When you say there is no duality, there is no movement, Sometimes you think that there is nothing. For example, the followers of Lord Buddha did not tell very clearly what the reality is. So their disciples went on proving this and that, and sometimes they came up with Kshanik Vijnanavad, sometimes they're coming up with Shunyavad. Nobody realized it. It's a state of that divine oneness. Oneness is not the right word. Divine oneness, where only pure consciousness is, which is the substratum of everything, which is the inner essence of everything. Anejadekam Purusho Jabiyo. And nobody can attain that. Naina Deva Apnuvan Purva Marshat. Then again, there's this beautiful mantra, Saparyagat. It's infinite, it's everywhere. Shukram, pure. Akayam, it doesn't have any body, so you cannot hurt it. So it goes on. Saparyagat, Shukram, Akayam, Varnam, Asnaviram, Shuddham, Apapaviddham, it's pure. And it's Apapaviddha. No sin can touch it, because sin belongs to mind. Atman, God, Brahman, is beyond mind. Nothing can touch it. Kavi, Paribhu, Swayambhu is ever existent. Ever existent. And who is that? Me. Who is that? You. Who is that? Everyone in this world. Even a Christian is that. Even people, those who are professing different kind of religions, they're Atman. Just that they don't know the truth. Kathopanishad, which is considered to be one of the easier Upanishads, but amazingly deep. Nityanam, Chetanas, Chetananam, Eko Bahunam, Yo Bidadhati Kaman, is the eternal amongst non-eternal. Whatever we see in this world is a physical world. Whatever is seen in this world belongs to the realm of mind. It's either mind or matter. And mind changes every second, every nanosecond. Matter is continuously changing. Yet, Atman is eternal. Nityo Nityana. This is Advaita. This is Advaita. Advaita is like that huge ocean on which waves of duality are playing. We are watching the waves and we think of duality. We think of the world. We think of mind. We think of a creator God. We fight over the supremacy of God. We fight over what kind of pleasure we are going to get in the heaven. We are scared of hell. We are scared of fires of hell. And we are scared what kind of fire might be awaiting me for doing this and that. I was reading in one of those jokes, e-jokes. Don't take it seriously, but I don't take certain things very seriously. So one gentleman was writing that he switched on some YouTube channel and a lot of interesting things were being narrated by a lady. And he kept on listening. Oh, such a wonderful thing, such a wonderful. And then he realized that the lady was a preacher who was listing out all the sins that would send a person to the hell. I loved it because, well, as Ms. Anuradha told, I write books too. So my first book was Tia. And in Tia, the premise itself was that Tia is somebody who is in heaven. And he kind of hears that only boring people come to the heaven. The more interesting ones go to the place that cannot be named. And so he becomes curious. This is the crux of Advaita. What? Avidya, Kam, Karma. You forget your true nature. We are talking about all these big things. Nityo, Nityanam, Chetnas, Chetnanam. Mrityosa mrityum apnoti ya naneva pashyati. One who sees multiplicity goes from birth to birth. Now, this story about Tia made good name, Tia, a parrot's journey home. There, suddenly ignorance takes over this parrot, who is actually an angel. And he gets curious. He gets curious about how come interesting people go to the place which must not be named in the heaven. And then he is born as a parrot. He's experiencing the world and its fears. And then slowly he's moving towards mukti, liberation, which is the ultimate of any spiritual practice. Me, you, he, she. Everyone is that parrot who had that divine fall as beautifully described in the Christian story of fall of Adam and Eve. There is some curiosity. That curiosity is avidya, that is ignorance. And we have the great fall. Call it original sin, call it ghafla as Muslims call it, and call it avidya as Hindus call it. Bottom line is, I am pure, I am Brahmasmi. I am that pure, I am Brahmasmi. That which is being described in these verses of the Upanishads. However, because ignorance envelops us, we forget our true nature. And because we forget our true nature, we feel that I am incomplete. I need completeness. Once we feel that I need completeness, we struggle to work. There is a desire, and desire leads to action. Avidya, kam, karma. Ignorance, desire, action. As you act, there is more incompleteness. As your incompleteness increases, your desire increases. As your desire increases, your ignorance increases. It's a vicious cycle, vicious. More you work, more desirous you become, more desirous you become, more ignorant you become, more ignorant you become, more desirous you become. And so when you look at the present day world, particularly the materialism brought upon us, starting industrial civilization, industrial revolution, and from there America, Europe, all those people, those who have been working and tantalizing things before us, they call it progress, they call it civilization. Fair enough, nothing wrong with it. The only problem is that when you look at the scriptures of Vedanta, that is, when you look at Ved, when you look at the Upanishads, particularly the Upanishads, you find that two problems that they point out in the Upanishads, as also by Acharya Shankar in his commentary on Gita, Shok and Moha. Shok is sorrow at the loss of something. Moha is the desire to get something which you don't have. And Acharya Shankar, while introducing Gita, second chapter, verse number 11, he says, Shok and Moha, these two are the world. Sansar, what is Sansar? People may ask you that you have been attending to seminars and all. What is Sansar? Shok and Moha. Sorrow at the loss of something that you had and expectation of something that you don't have. Sorrow at the loss and expectation at something. Actually, English terms are not really that beautiful. They don't carry the power. They don't carry the punch that Sanskrit words carry. Shok, Moha, two terms. There is no as beautiful equivalent in English. So we have to translate it, and translation has to be phrasal. So what is the world? What is this world? What is my existence? What is samsara? It's all shok moha and nothing else. We have forgotten our true nature. True nature, as we mentioned just now, Nityo Nityanam Chetnasya is my very, very favorite mantra. I love it. To think that I am eternal, and yet I am continuously behaving as non-eternal. Worse, Chetanas Chetnana is a consciousness of every sentience. Wherever you find any kind of senses, any kind of life, know that Atman is there. Atman is pure consciousness. And yet, I'm semi-literate or semi-literate, you can say, barely literate. As far as spirituality is concerned, well, my understanding, your understanding of most is a big fat zero. Believe me, I know scholars. I know scholars from the universities, and I know scholars from every walk of life. Understanding of spirituality is an absolutely different thing. It's easy to talk on Advaita. It's easy to talk about love of God. It's very difficult to make entry in the world of spirituality. At least people who have shok and moha, who still have the fear of loss, and who still have anguish of expectation, do not expect them to be spiritual. It has to reduce not only considerably, but dramatically. And as you progress spiritually, as you move nearer towards your true identity, your identification with the world starts decreasing. As your identification starts decreasing, you become more and more of you. Your desires decrease. Your tendency to work more and more decreases. And consequently, your ignorance decreases. So what happens? Finally, you get established in the knowledge of Advaita. And Ishopanishad beautifully says, Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhut vijanata. When you finally see that oneness, that is, when the duality falls away, then what's happened? Tatrako moha ka shoka ekatvam anupashyati. When you see that divine oneness, I'm using the term divine oneness. This is not ordinary oneness. It's beyond all duality. All shok and moha drop away. Acharya Shankara, whose Janma Jayanti, birth anniversary, we are celebrating throughout this month. He says the entire Gita is about that. Arjuna was steeped in shok moha. He was worried that his dear ones will die. And he was full of tears. What Lord Krishna did was placed before him the crux of the Veda, which is Gita. And crux of Veda is ultimately Vedanta. So he placed before Krishna the ideal of Vedanta. Arjuna held on to that like a sinking man holding on to a stick and came out of it. Well, if Arjuna could come out from such a mess, such a miserable mess, why can't I come out? Why can't you come out? And what is the fundamental teaching of Vedanta? What's the fundamental teaching of Gita? What is the fundamental teaching of, say, the Upanishads? That you are the Atman, which we described in some of these mantras. Atman, which is beyond any kind of change. In our traditional literature, changes have been classified as 6, categorized as 6. It's existence, birth, growth, decay, finally disintegration, etc. You are beyond that. You are pure Atman. And what's the nature of Atman? Nityo nityanam chetnas chetnanam eko bahunam. One that appears as many. Yo vidadhati kaman. That which fulfills the desires of all. That is the goal. Me, you, everyone has to be established in that divine oneness. Now, it simply implies that whatever is in this world, whatever we aspire for, whatever we admire in this world is Atman. Atman has all knowledge. Atman has all power. Atman fulfills the desire of all. And I am that. Believe me, dear listeners, it's mind-boggling. If you don't lose sleep after listening to this, it will simply mean either you didn't listen or you didn't understand. It should shake you up like anything. You're what? You're omnipresent. You're present everywhere. You're all powerful. You're all knowing. And there's nothing other than you. There's nothing other than you. Just that. You don't know that. Swami Vivekananda had very famously said, why cannot I express that knowledge? Why cannot I express that power? Simply because we don't believe in it. If I am all knowledge, if I have all the power, it should show. If a person has wealth, he has huge mansion, he has big cars, it shows. Why can't I show? For the simple reason that I don't even believe it. People who talk about Advaita, believe me, I tell you, people who talk about Advaita, they don't even believe in it. Because anyone who believes in Advaita, he will be a powerhouse. So what are the implications of this? If you believe in Advaita, if you just want to believe in Advaita, you want to practice Advaita, forget about meditation, forget about other things. I'm talking about very simple points. I just brought some points. First, all power is within you. Try to wake it up. Don't behave like a beggar. Don't go running to this person, that person. Be established in your self-dignity, because know that the power that person has, the power that atomic bomb has, that is also your own power. Mind it. Scary, scary. No external power controls you, not even God, mind it. Acharya Shankara Jayanti we are celebrating, he famously used to say that nothing can act on itself. You cannot touch your right hand with your right hand. Even God cannot destroy you. Reason? God is your inner self. You are one with God. How can God destroy you? Can he send you to hell? No, he cannot send you to hell. He doesn't have any power over you, provided you practice Advaita. Vedanta has three aspects. Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita, Advaita. There are also Achintya Veda and all. Essentially, God and me, we are eternally separate. God and me, we are kind of united and not united. But Advaita is about Atman alone exists. So naturally, I am that. So God has no control over you. Swami Vivekananda in one of his lectures very famously said, although that is also true, dualism is also true, but we have wept enough. No more bhakti. We want only Advaita. Particularly the South Indian lectures that Swamiji had, when Swamiji talks that Swamiji delivered in Sri Lanka and Ramnath, etc. He's talking continuously about Advaita, because India has to be woken up. India has to come up. And that India can be brought up only by Advaita. And because you are free, you need to feel it. Don't feel the bondage of Kamini Kanchan. Don't feel any kind of bondage on yourself. Always feel that you are free. Because no one can trouble you. Do you feel troubled by the society? Do you feel troubled by your near and dear ones? Do you feel troubled by your wife and husband and kids? Think that you are Atman. Even for a moment, you will see that are losing the burden that is on your shoulder. Be at peace. Even God cannot terrify you. Forget Satan. Forget the worldly problems. Nothing. When you die, your body will die. Nothing. Your body will die. Your soul will move on to some other sphere, and then finally it will take up another body till you realize that you are Atman. Because you are divine, learn to respect yourself. Of course, you should respect others too, but at least you should start respecting yourself. Why are people depressed? Because they don't respect themselves. Why people become suicidal? Because they don't respect themselves. You are divine. You should have the highest respect for yourself. So much so, there is no hell for you. Nobody can send you. So feel the joy. Who can trouble you? Who can create problems for you? Not even hell for you. On the other side, you alone are to be blamed for everything that happens with you. Good is yours, bad is yours. So blame no one for your plight, good or bad. See the amount of strength that Advaita gives. The moment you take up Dvaita, God is to be blamed. For the inequality in this world, God is to be blamed. For all the ills in the society, God is to be blamed. And those who believe only in the society, those who believe only in the world, for them, they will blame this person and that person and this rogue person, that rogue person. Of course, in our commentary language, we use that kind of language. But at the deeper level, at the deepest level, we have to know that Matta sarvam pravartante. Everything has come out of me. So here is Mr. Nitin Sridhar. Mr. Sridhar, can you realize that the war that is going on between Russia and Ukraine has come out of you? Yes, it has come out of you. You are responsible for it. Can you imagine? It's so terrifying. Do you know that terrorist who is killing people in Jammu and Kashmir has come out of you? Indeed, he has come out of you. It's terrifying, but it's a fact. It is a fact. Can you imagine all the murderers, all the rapists, all the looters, all the everything? They have come out of you. So, you cannot love anyone specially. You cannot hate anyone specially. Because they all have come out of you. And indeed, believe me, this is the reality. If you go by Advaita, this is the thing. So you cannot blame anyone. Not only for what is happening to you, but for anything that is happening in this universe, not in this world, in the entire universe. Because that is the truth. Advaita is the ultimate truth. We need to hear of it day and night. We need to think over it. We need to meditate over it. We need to realize. If we don't, then what happens? Nothing. We are so well in this universe. We are enjoying this life here. We are suffering. We are shedding tears. Nothing wrong with it. If you think there's nothing wrong with you, nothing wrong with you. But if you really want to improve your plight, it's not about improving the plight, because see, each one of us today or tomorrow will be taking up that path. So why suffer? If you can have freedom today, why honestly delay it till tomorrow? Well, this is the message that we need to teach our kids. The message that we need to think. I'll tell you a very simple thing, and I'll end. I had planned to talk for 45 minutes. We have reached that time. And nowadays we have so many books on power of positive thinking. The Americans, they write maximum number of books on these subjects. And those books sell in millions. Why? Because they indeed do good to some people. If simply these self-help books, if they can be of great use to the readers, just imagine what might happen if you give the greatest self-help that the universe has come out of you. Think of these suicide bombers, jihadists, who believe that their God is waiting for them and they only have to do something for the religion, etc. And they're ready to blow themselves up. Think of the surge of the power within these people who read these self-help books and those who believe in the words that God waits them. If only they can die for the cause of the religion. The amount of surge of power that will be there within you, if you think that you don't have any death, you don't have any decay, you don't have the fear of going to the hell, and there's no one to blame, etc., etc., all the things that we have been discussing. There's no sorrow for you, there's no delusion for you, there's no expectation for you, because you are everything. Just imagine the kind of power that will rush. If you say that this is all hogwash, it's all nonsense, then what about self-help books? Aren't they hogwash? See, the problem, as Swamiji had beautifully mentioned, problem with us is that we don't believe. Worse, we don't want to believe. Try it once. Try to feel once. What is Advaita? And try to feel that you are one with the universe. You are the creator of the universe. Just think and see the consequences that you have. Advaita is not a thought out system. Advaita is not a philosophy. Advaita is the fundamental and the only truth of this universe. God is true because Advaita is true. The world is true because Advaita is true. Whatever is there in this universe, the mind is there because Advaita is true. Adam and Eve fell from the heaven because Advaita is true. And that truth is you. With this, I end my talk. I have 10 minutes left. If I get questions, sensible ones, minded, I get extremely annoyed if I come across any insensible questions, mischievous, malicious questions. In case you have questions, ask me and I'll answer. And if you don't have questions, I'll end the session here.
Thank you.
Yes, madam.
Thank you, Swamiji, for this very powerful lecture. And as you said, Advaita is not any philosophy. It's the fundamental truth and the only truth, and everything goes only because of Advaita. Thank you so much for this talk. We do have some questions which I will present.
Please filter the questions carefully because I get annoyed.
Okay. Dr. Megha ji has a question like, how do we know that our shoka and moha is reducing when one is pursuing his or her profession?
Oh, wonderful. How if I'm eating, how will anyone else know whether or not my belly is full? Only I can know. No one else can know. It is your subjective feeling. It's your subjective feeling that your shoka and moha, your level of irritation is going down, your level of annoyance is going down, your level of depressive tendencies is going down, and you are getting better sleep at night, etc., etc. So Ananta Vishwanathan has written, is there any way to get the recording? Well, Mr. Vishwanathan, I'm told that it's on YouTube and you can. Yes, any other question, madam?
Yeah, basically Mr. Sharma ji over here is he's very appreciative that the talk is all the concepts have been explained in simple terms, and it's a very valuable talk as the feedback we've got here. And I had a question: how does one prepare oneself to understand this knowledge, the Advaita knowledge?
Well, there are good books. You can study Gita. And see, ultimately, when you want to master a subject, Even a simple thing as cooking. I don't know if cooking is a simple thing. So, for example, I don't know if you cook at home. Do you cook, madam?
Yes, I do cook.
Do you cook sambar?
Yeah.
I have no idea how sambar is cooked. I liked it. I love it. I don't know how it's cooked. Why? You had a teacher in your mom or anyone in your family. You learned from her. I don't even know how to light a gas stove. Thank God I'm a monk. Otherwise, I would have been in very serious trouble. You need a teacher to do even a basic thing like lighting up a gas stove. So how do you expect that? I'll teach you Advaita, which is finer than quantum physics, finer than theory of relativity. To explain two sentences, you have to find a guru. You can, as far as you yourself are concerned, you can read books. You can read commentaries by Acharya Shankar. You can read works of Swami Vivekananda. And you have to practice yoga, because yoga is antaranga sadhana. Only by practicing yoga, as far as yoga is concerned, it has a fundamental difference with Vedanta at the last step. But that's not material, because if you have the urge to be a Vedantin, that is Advaitin, you will be taken up. So no problem. So it's all depends on practice. So committed. See, I am in the Ramakrishna mission now for around 43 years. I joined as a monk when I was barely 20. I was just out of college. I can tell you, I have not taken any serious stride in the field of spirituality. I've just been working out my past karma. And I feel awestruck at the garbage that I must have collected over my births. Because those who are lucky ones, well, they must be advanced souls. I know I'm not an advanced soul. I know myself. So it's not that easy. We are carrying baggage of our past life on our back. It needs to be expended. So it's through practices and Sharanagati, surrender at the feet of the Lord, because till this world is true for me, till I am true for myself, till my mind is true for me, God is the only truth. That is what Advaita says. Because I have not studied dualism, I have not studied Buddhism, I have not studied qualified non-dualism, but I have studied Advaita and I understand. And I know that all these systems of thought, you name the system of thought, it belongs to Advaita. Because Advaita is a complete system. Others are part of that. So, well, we need to struggle. We need to move. We need to get beyond our identifications. Oh, looks like there are chats and question and answer.
Yeah.
Quite a few of them.
Yeah. So there's an anonymous question, Swamiji, and he or she's asking, how does the power we get via Advaita impact the outer world? In the same context, how do we overcome sorrow in, like, for example, ill health, illness, etc., through Advaita? How does Advaita help us to overcome this kind of sorrow, like ill health and so on? That's what is the question.
See, with my due respect to the questioner and to everybody else who is listening, see, the problem is the mess that we are in, the weakness that we have, disease that we have, shortcomings that we have. See, look, how do you solve it? There are three ways of looking at things. Supposing there is somebody, I know only of Bill Gates, who is very rich. I'm a poor monk. And then there is Swami Vivekananda, who had such power, such oratory. I'm such a poor speaker, terrible speaker. I'm scared of talks. I take good classes. I'm a very poor speaker. Why this difference? There are three ways of looking at it. Three ways of looking at it. Number one, it's all chance. This is the materialistic outlook. The forces of nature has brought it. That means it's so pathetic. It's like, you are like a leaf in the storm, is buffeting you everywhere. It's a terrible situation. I would rather die than face this kind of situation. Second is, God created this discrepancy. Advaita doesn't believe in that. The third one is, I brought it upon myself. Now, which one is a better answer? Which one has a comforting answer? If the forces of nature are doing it, the first one, well, then I have no chance of improving myself. Number two, God, in one of his whims, created this inequality. Then I have absolutely no possibility of changing it, because I can go on praying. But God, if he is so whimsical to have created me like this, what possibility is that he might change it? No, he may not. Third, I brought it upon myself. I can change it. Change yourself. This is Advaita. Advaita says, take all the responsibility on ourselves. If you have illness, work towards your health. If you lack something, work towards that. See, look here. I always had difficulty passing my exams throughout my life because I never studied. And there were people who studied and they were toppers. The simple thing is, as you work, as you labor, you succeed. It's a simple thing. You work on it. And if you think that there is some kind of trick involved, there is some shortcut. There is some shortcut of Advaita that will take away your illness, that will take away your mental depression, that will take away your poverty, that will take away your incompetence. No, Advaita doesn't have anything to offer. These kind of fraud, the only term I can tell you is fraud, is perpetuated by bhakti tradition of people. They'll say, come to my God, worship, and all your problems will be over. Nothing. Had it been, India has been worshipping so many gods for thousands of years, we wouldn't have faced such kind of slavery, such kind of poverty. Nothing can help you other than you yourself. No one can help you. Well, that's the answer. And that is where Advaita comes to your aid.
We have one question from Srinivas Rauji, and he says that if Advaita is the only truth, then is it not like the various Abrahamic cults?
No. You are missing the point. Actually, this is the problem. See, when I try to present your entire subject in 1 hour, this is the kind of problem we face. They are not telling Advaita is when we say Advaita is true. It doesn't say that Advaita is wrong. It doesn't say Vishishtadvaita is wrong. It doesn't say Islam is wrong. It says Christianity is wrong. No, it doesn't. It says that the entire thing forms a complete picture. As many minds, so many gods. As many minds, so many religion. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, as many faiths, so many paths. Finished. We accept everything to be true. We accept Christianity to be true. We accept Shaivism, Vaishnavism, and Ramism, and Christian, everything to be true. Abrahamic religion says they are true, everyone else is false. Dvaita, even Dvaita, Madhva's followers will say they are correct, everything else is false. Advaita will never say it, never. Advaita will say, yes, you are also correct, you are also correct, because you are talking in the realm of mind. In the realm of mind is the realm of Maya, is the realm of Prakriti. Anything is possible. But the goal is to go beyond Maya. So now, how is Dvaita and say Christianity related to Advaita? When Dvaita and Christianity talk about the God, Advaita said, yes, true. The only difference is that when you worship God as son, when you worship God as servant, fair enough, nothing wrong with it. Now, when you are worshipping God as oneness, becoming one, it becomes Advaita. When you are worshipping it as separate, it's no more Advaita. The possibility of your getting recycled is very much there. And Advaita doesn't say in that sense, not with a sense of pride that they're superior. It just says that this is the truth. Wherever there is duality, there is a beautiful mantra in Kathopanishad, Mrityosa mrityum apnoti yah naneva pashyati. One who sees multiplicity gets born again and again. If you see yourself to be separate from God, you will be born again. Now, these are not my words. These are not the words of Shankaracharya or Swami Vivekananda. These are words from the Upanishads. What are Upanishads? Realization of the sages. And this is not the realization of one single sage, as happens say in Abrahamic religion, but it has been corroborated by many other verses from different Upanishads, from different scriptures, including from our own time. Say Sri Ramakrishna was there, Ramana Maharshi was there. Now, if so many people are talking the same thing, you cannot question that. Because they are masters. Unlike in, say, Abrahamic religion, there's only one master. Everyone is his follower. India, this thing doesn't happen. In India, we have so many masters, and their words have to be accepted as true. Why should they be telling us lies? They were absolutely unselfish. They had performed tapasya, and they were establishing total detachment. So why should they be misleading us? No reason.
Thank you, Swamiji, once again for this very clear sharing and telling us.
Any other question?
No, that's all. There's just a lot of praise for your talk, and it's Swami Bakshi says it's very nice, practical, and relatable explanation, and something that doesn't make us feel hopeless. That's really
no, not at all. Why? How can you be hopeless?
Yes.
You are the master of the universe. Matta sarvam pravartante. Yes. Everything has come out of you.
So in this 1 hour,
there's no question of hopelessness. No way. And believe me, well, I am here at the University of the Ramakrishna Mission, and we get students from extremely backward communities. They are in graduation and post-graduation. I teach them some subjects. First thing, I make them write and force them to memorize. I am the best. I always force them. Remember, I am the best. And they love me for this. I am the best. Remember, you are the best. Why? You are a practitioner of Advaita. Those who practice bhakti, they may say, I am a slave of God. I am a servant of God. I am a sinner. I am a born sinner. Hell is reserved for me. Not in Advaita. You created hell for people who want to go to hell for them, not for yourself. Thank you so much. And that would
Thank you so much, Swamiji. We look forward to more sessions from you.
No, not possible for me. I'm extremely tied up with my own classes. I am grateful to Mr. Sridhar because he was taking my talks, and so he requested, so I kind of agreed. It's beyond me. Thank you so much. Thank you, dear listeners. Thank you, Sridharji, once again. And thank you, madam. We end it here.
Viewers, we have a lot more sessions coming up. Tomorrow morning, we have a session.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Which is by Subramanian Chidambaram on Subramanian Bhujanga, one of the works. It's a comparison between Subramanian Bhujanga, which is the work of Shankara, and the works of Arunagirinadar. So please do tune in at 7 a.m. India time. Thank you very much and good night.